Thank you for being with us today. I'm Fred Davis, pastor Mending Fences Cowboy Church in Lebanon, Tennessee. We're located on Highway 109 at Starstruck Farm, just south of Gallatin. We meet on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. We would invite you to come and to be a part of our service. I know that you'll enjoy the worship and the fellowship of our people, and that you'll be blessed. So if you have that opportunity, try to join us at some point, and I think it'll be a great experience for you. We have been looking all week at the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is a search for the meaning of life. Everybody is trying to determine what is the meaning of life. Great philosophers down through the centuries have all been in search for the meaning of life. Lee Strobel was a very intelligent man who was an atheist. And he set out to prove that atheism was the truth. He researched it for years. He went to places and interviewed very brilliant people. And finally, in all of his conclusion, he come to understand that life is about giving your life to Jesus Christ and living for Him. He has since written some great books that I would recommend that you get a hold of and study those books because of his research. And we are in chapter 7, and chapter 7 reads like Proverbs. It's short, simple statements that present a truth. There's a whole book in the Bible that is entitled Proverbs. A lot of the book of Psalms written by David are written like Proverbs. And here we see this in Ecclesiastes chapter 7. So let's begin with verse 7 and see what it says. Extortion turns wise people into fools, and bribes corrupt the heart. When you bribe someone, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a small child and you bribe them with a cookie, or you're a businessman and someone bribes you with a lot of money, it will corrupt the heart. Then he says in verse 8, and we looked at this at another time, finishing is better than starting. Patience is better than pride. And it's true. It's better to finish. More important even in the starting. So, verse 9, control your temper, for anger labels you a fool. Control your temper. We're living in a difficult time. Road rage is unbelievable. Somebody cuts you off and you get so mad. There have been people that have absolutely been killed on the highway because someone got mad. We see it everywhere we go. There are more murders today than any other time in the history of the United States. People are angry. They are upset. Their tempers are short. And we want to make sure that other people are straightened out, and we're going to do it. So our temper gets out of control. And our anger puts us in the category of a fool. Verse 10, don't long for the good old days. This is not wise. But we all do it. One of the most famous television programs that has ever been is Andy of Mayberry. Why is it so popular? It is because it reminds us of the good old days, the way it used to be, when life was simple as it is not today. So, don't long for the good old days. Why? They're gone. It's over. All we have is the day that God has given us today. Let's make the best out of it. Let's do everything we can to make it the best day that it can possibly be. Verse 11. Wisdom is even better than when you have money. Be a wise person. In every situation that you find yourself, you can learn from the situation. And so, it's better to be wise than to even have money. Both are a benefit as you go through life. Money can be helpful. Great things can be done with wealth. Great inventions can be made. Discoveries can be made with wealth. And that can be beneficial. But only wisdom can save your life. So, we need to be wise in all of our dealings with other people. And keep that in mind. Accept the way God does things. Now, in today's society, most people do not want to even recognize God. We have the attitude, it all begins with me. I get amused when people say, well, I'll tell you what I think about it. Well, when did God die and put you in charge? You see, we need to understand, as Solomon is telling us here in this verse, accept the way that God does things. There is a God who exists and has always existed and always will exist. Accept it. Accept it. That will help you to be a wise person. Accept the way God does things. For who can straighten what he has made crooked? We can't do it. Look around the world. We're living in a time of great chaos in the weather. Great tsunamis have destroyed cities of nations. And you know what? We can't do anything to change it. Now, we can blame it on climate control if we want to, but God is in charge. He's in control. Accept the way God does things. Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times strike, realize that both come from God. The good things and the bad things, God allows it to come into our life. I know people that get mad at God and blame God. It's God's fault I've lost my wife or my husband. It's God's fault that I was in a car wreck and my body is crippled. Why would God do that to me? Well, listen to what he says. Enjoy prosperity while you can, but when hard times come and strike, realize that both come from God. It's my experience that we grow more as people and as spiritual people during the hard times than we do when things are going well. Because during the hard times, you've got to depend upon God. You've got to trust Him. You've got to let Him lead each step that you take and depend upon Him to do it. And you grow more during that than you do when everything is going well. Thank God for the struggles of life. Remember that nothing is certain in this life. Every day that you live, there may be a circumstance that develops in your life that you have to live with you never dreamed would ever come into your life. Well, trust the Lord. Depend upon Him. Lean not unto your own understanding, but trust in the Lord. And He will help you grow to be what He wants you to be. So in chapter 7 through verse number 14, this is like parables that Solomon is speaking. And so we begin now with verse 15 when it says, I have seen everything in this meaningless life. That's Solomon talking. He said, I've seen it all. If it has happened, I've seen it. If it has taken place in someone's life, I've seen it. He said, I've seen everything in this meaningless life, including the death of good young people and the long life of wicked people. So don't be too good or too wise. Why? Why destroy yourself? When we take life too serious, we can destroy ourselves. On the other hand, don't be too wicked either. Don't be a fool. Why die before your time? Pay attention to those or these instructions, for anyone who fears God will avoid both extremes. When you have wealth, appreciate it. Be grateful for it. When you lose your wealth, realize that God's in charge. He's the one that provides for us, and our faith and trust is in Him and Him alone. So he says, pay attention to these instructions, for everyone who fears God will avoid both extremes. One wise person is stronger than 10 leading citizens in a community. Boy, we in America today need to learn this. Not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. So one strong person is better than 10 leading citizens in a community. Not a single person on earth is always good and never sins. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There is none righteous, no, not one. The wages of our sin is death, and death has passed upon all people, for all people have sinned. So think on these things that Solomon has presented to us. It will help you live a complete, developed, happy life, trusting in Jesus Christ alone. He is the Creator. He is the Maker of mankind. And we must trust Him even in the time of death. Thank you for being with us again today. Have a great